Poured myself a big glass because this is a true wine lovers episode. Welcome to Flying for Flavor, episode 6. Before I get into this episode, I can't believe I'm going to have to do this again, but I really want to acknowledge and send along my thoughts and prayers to the people who are being, I want to say, devastated and decimated by these hurricanes. I mean, the first time that I had to comment on this and was stunned by it by watching it on television, that was I don't know how many hurricanes ago. And now some of the same places are being hit again. And there's also earthquakes that are happening in Mexico. I think they've had 2 in the last little while. This weather craziness is really making me do some research into travel insurance for future episodes. I want to talk to people who have traveled in and out of these places in the last little while. I'm going to talk to travel agents. I can just imagine what they're going through trying to arrange flights and people working on the airlines. It's heartbreaking to watch. And as a lover of the tourism industry, I'm really hoping this is just a little blip in their history. If anyone is out there and wants to talk about it with me, either on the air or just for an interview for me to discuss personally, I'd love to share some stories. I think that the more people realize what people down there are going through, that maybe we can use some of that information to sort of prevent things going forward. Okay, let's get back into talking about wine. So I had a chance to chat with a friend of mine that I haven't seen or talked to in quite a while. His name is Cedric Jones. He owns a wine touring company down in Capetown, South Africa. And I met him probably, I guess it's been about 1.5 years since I was there last. And I had such a great time. There was him and his wife, Sabine, and Norm and I. The 4 of us got along amazingly well. And Norm and I are already looking in our calendars to try to plan out a trip back because we had so much fun. And I was only saddened by the fact that it was too short and poor Cedric couldn't drink with us because he was too busy driving us around. So I want to go and do a do-over, basically. But with the magic of technology and Skype, I managed to have a very lengthy conversation with him about what is new in the wine industry in South Africa and that area, what kind of things people can look forward to or shop for here on this side of the pond, and what's kind of the up and coming or what are the flavors and the grape varietals that we should be focusing on. So this might get a little bit technical. So what I did was I actually cut down part of the interview into about 15 minutes or so that I thought that you'll get a good overview of the South African wines and the wine region itself. Kind of the things that Cedric is coaching us into shopping for and to be drinking with South African wines. And then I'm actually going to upload the entire interview in its whole unedited entirety to YouTube, just the audio portion of it, along with a transcript so that you can actually get the correct names of some of the wines and winemakers that he's referencing. So that will be in the links in the show notes. And as always, you can find it at stephaniepichet.ca/flavor6. Spelled the Canadian way, flavor, FLAVOUR 6. Hey down there.
How are you?
Hey, how are you?
You well?
Good.
Good.
Nice to see you. All I've ever seen is pictures of all your Facebook adventures.
No, the holiday's over now, so we're all done and dusted.
Excellent.
So yeah, it's back to work now, I suppose.
I know. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
but we're still just getting started in our major summer season here, so.
Yeah, I see. Obviously you must be having good weather and everything's good there at the moment.
Yeah, the weather's been great. We had a very slow start to the summer, though, so it'll be interesting to see. It was cold and rainy for most of June, where usually it gets quite warm. So it's only been this last week or so, or not a week, maybe last couple of weeks, where it's been steadily mid to high 20s.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, which is good.
Well, look how we basically got summer weather at the moment. We in dire straits of water here.
Oh, I laugh because I know it's supposed to be your cold season, and I listened to Sabine complaining about it, and I went, yeah, we're not crying for you.
No. I mean, we're like 25 degrees today. It's 26 degrees Celsius outside.
Wow.
But obviously, we're in dire straits. We need water, across the board.
Oh, I'm sure. If you don't have any kind of a let up at all.
No, not at all. We're expecting some rain tomorrow. But, obviously for tours, it's not ideal. But at the moment, this is our quiet time. We've probably got one more quiet week this week.
Okay.
And then next week, look how we got tours, but nothing big going. And then next week, we kind of got 2 every day. So that's not too bad.
Oh, sounds good to me.
Yeah, then we'll start kicking off again and picking up from there.
Well, every time that I know that someone's heading down your way, I'm always sending them to you. So that's my job, recruiting 101.
I appreciate that. It's going pretty well, but like I said, it's really quiet at the moment. A lot of times we go to the wine estates and it's just us there.
Oh, well, actually, that might be good news for people who are traveling and don't necessarily want to be in the big, large groups, right?
Oh, yeah.
Get a little bit more personalized attention and.
Yeah, perfect for them, but it's obviously for tourism, it's not great, but every year it's the same. So, we always complain, but it's exactly the same every single year, so we can't complain.
That's what I'm kind of hoping. I mean, since I was there last, if you remember, we had such a short list of wines that were available here, of the ones that we visited. We just didn't have a great selection. So I don't think that South African wines really got their due, or the large range or the varieties of them is the same as they used to. So I'm really kind of hoping that, over the next little while, we have, as we're sort of getting caught up or talking about different wineries and different wine styles and things that are there, it might expose people to try a few other South African wines. And if they fall in love with it, it might not be one of their future destinations if they want to go to a wine region, right?
Definitely.
Yeah.
I look at that list that you sent me, that website. They got a fairly substantial variety there. Obviously, you got your two oceans and your entry level stuff.
That's right.
Which we send bucket loads everywhere in the world.
Yes.
But there was some really good stuff there, and I was quite impressed. I mean, small places like the Trafford and the Post House and Seine and a couple of others, which I was quite impressed with. So I think there's some decent stuff amongst all of that, definitely.
Yeah, well, I was very surprised to see de Trafford on there as well, because I don't believe he had anything here, especially not in Ontario. I believe some of the wines that we like the most, they might have been available in Quebec in very large, very small quantities, but these certainly weren't available here. So, I mean, I know I sent you a big list and you probably went and took a quick strand. Like, if one of the things I don't think people realize is that you just like every other wine region kind of focus on particular grape varietals that do very, very well there. And then you may have different styles of it. So, of course, the Chenin Blanc is the big white. And then I'm just trying to think, is there any other kinds that you can think of that people should be experimenting with in the whites?
Well, look at with the whites. Obviously, the thing is, it's been so focused on Chenin and Chardonnay for the last while. Mm-hmm. Our Chardonnays have been doing really, really well, funny enough.
If you could compare them to Chardonnays elsewhere, do you have any comparables that you can think of just in style? Is it like the big buttery ones, or you find something more delicate?
Something between, something a bit off that. The people are a little bit off these big buttery Chardonnays. So what a lot of the winemakers are really focusing on, they are obviously wooded, but only a portion of it will be put in new French oak barrels, and then the rest will be put in used barrels. So it's not over the top. It's quite complex. Sorry, my cat is jumping up. Got something about as soon as someone comes online and someone's talking, she's here. Yeah. So no. So in any case, yeah. So it's slightly in a lighter style, if I can put it that way.
Okay.
Don't get me wrong. There's still people, especially for food pairings, that are big into these heavily oaked Chardonnays. But in general, people are going for more the lighter style that you can actually just, drink every day if you chose, without any food, or having the food. It still pairs well. That's Chardonnay Chenin obviously has been around forever. South Africans love Chenin because basically, you can have it in a very easy style where they just put it in stainless steel tanks, especially with our weather. It's perfect for. So they almost make it like a Sauvignon Blanc.
Okay.
It's got maybe a little bit more of a backbone than a Sauvignon Blanc. It's got good acidity on it. It's a good, easy sipping wine, and people tend to drink quite a lot of it. You can obviously make
I know I do.
Obviously, with a bit of wood. On the red side, actually, there's you're familiar with Cinsault, or you're not?
Yes.
There's sort of a thing going on around that at the moment. At one stage, it was the biggest planted grape in this country.
Wow.
It was. Basically, it's a grape that does really well in hot climates, and they were using it for bulk wine and for blending for the most part, especially with Cabernet Sauvignon.
Okay.
They used to get huge amounts of tonnage out of it. They just let as many bunches hang as they possibly could, and they kind of got a bit of a bad rap. And then as the wine industry started evolving in this country, what they were doing is they were pulling all of these Cinsault vines out. Okay?
Okay.
And then they started planting the Cabs and the Shirazes and so on. And they kind of forgot about it. They always use it in a blend, put a bit of Cinsault in a blend. But there's a couple of guys doing really good Cinsauts now. And these are vines that kind of got overlooked. They never got pulled out, obviously. Mm-hmm. Older vines. And the Cinsault that you're getting off these older vines is really good stuff. In the Swartland, in the Swartland area and parts of Stellenbosch, the guys are getting very excited about it. It's started but big players, the Sadi family, Adi Barnos.
Wow.
Big players they've been making it for a while, but it seems almost like they've kicked up a notch. They're calling it the Pinot Noir of the Swartland.
Wow, there's a title for you.
Yeah, there you go. And I think it's getting a bit of a cult following. It's almost becoming, with the young winemakers, especially small boutique places, it's like a hipster wine. Every young winemaker wants to make a good Cinsault now.
Okay.
So I think that if there is a bit of a change, look, we still only 1.8%, I think, of our vineyards are Cinsault. So it's minute.
So I guess it's one of those things that if we happen to see it popping up on any of the blends or as a single varietal here, that must mean that one particular winery is probably doing a higher production of it specifically for.
Yeah. I would, especially with as a single varietal. I think that the guys that are doing it on a single varietal, it tends to be made in a slightly upmarket fashion, if I can put it that way. Mm-hmm. And it's really versatile because, it's not a full-body wine by a long stretch of imagination, but it's good with food. It's a good summer red. So I think it's got a lot of potential. And I've had a couple recently that I've been really impressed with. Stellenbosch, and obviously I'm a big follower of that little wine estate called Pena. Okay. Remember that took you there?
Yes, it's just that I've got my list time by. Yes.
Yeah, the super singles, and every year it's getting better. And the other night I actually opened up one of their first vintages, and it really drank well. And so I think that's out of our red wines, definitely that's something to look out for.
Okay, so that'd be good for especially for our fall season here, as the temperatures drop just a little bit. I think that'll be right. It'll start to go with a lot of foods. What's happening with any sparklings or anything like that? Is there anybody new, or is it the same producers?
It's the same wines, it's really the same place. So we're exporting a lot of bubbly now, especially to Russia.
Oh, okay.
Exporting a lot of our bubblies to Russia. It's the same players, you've got your Siemens's and these guys that have been doing the same stuff for a very, very long time. There's a couple of guys like Coleman and one or two others that are, the smaller guys that are doing more almost like handcrafted stuff, really a little bit more upmarket. But the volumes are so small, and like I say, I don't want to say we've been in a rut with bubbly, but there hasn't been big movement with it.
Well, I guess so with the few players that you have, and if they're having great success with it, especially with their exports, there's no real motivation for them to expand at all, right? I'm surprised you're not getting more competitors if the export market's that good.
Yeah, and look, we're actually exporting more than we actually more than for local consumption. Over 50%. I think it's we're nearly making. I think it's 900 million liters of wheat. I don't know. I think it's something like 450 million liters of it, which is getting exported. Still, it's mainly landing up in Europe. The UK, Germany, okay, now Russia's coming into play for us. We do export to the States, but that's like 1% of 1% kind of thing.
Yeah, it's not really significant as it is over there. That makes sense. So if you can just go off the top of your head, so certain producers that maybe export here, aside from the usual entry-level ones that you just recommend. I know you just mentioned Stella & Rust. Is there other couple that you would recommend that are just have a good consistency, good just an all-around winner that you can just go and pull off the shelf?
Are you talking across the board?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, just out of the top of your head, like if there were certain ones that people should be shopping for, as opposed to me telling them my favorites.
No. Okay, I saw you got rakes on your. They got rakes there.
Sorry, who was that? If you want to
get really rakes, RIJKS.
Oh yes, okay.
In the Swartland, they got a Chenin Blanc there, which is outstanding. It's called a touch of oak.
Yes. Okay. I think I remember seeing that.
Yeah, that's really, and it's a keep, and it actually gets better when you hold it back for a little while. It's more or less a food Chenin, if I can put it that way. They're doing some really good stuff. Look at the Swartland at the moment is the in place. But having said that, our top-ranked wines over the last year or 2 years, I would say Chardonnays. Especially on Decanter and these guys up there. And there the Himmel and Arde Valley is kicking back side. You got a wine estate there that is on that list, Summer Ridge. Okay. They really, really good stuff. And obviously your normal guys, Hamilton Russell, they're doing good stuff. I'm not a huge Ken Forest fan, but their Chenin Blancs there are outstanding. He's got three outstanding Chenin Blancs there. Okay. But they're more top level stuff that they're doing really good stuff with. I'm just trying to think of a couple. The Post House. I'm a big fan of the Post House. Did we get to the Post House?
No, I don't think so. I remember seeing it, but I don't believe we went to the Post House. I mean, I'm going to have a link in the show notes for this show. I'm going to actually have a link to, because I remember I did a whole couple of pages of just the chat of all the places that we went to, links of what I tried that was available here in Ontario. So all those details will be on there for the show notes. So I'll just add any new ones that you say we should have gotten to, or my plan B for when I come the next time.
Plan B, look, I don't know if you go to the Post House, but the Post House is a little bit of a eccentric winemaker, but off the wall. Okay. Nick Herber, really nice guy, but he's like the chief chef and bottle washer there. So when he's not there, it's kind of closed because he does everything. He does the marketing, he does the winemaking, everything. It's all handcrafted stuff. Even the labels still get done by hand, stuff like that. And it's also got a good story because it was an old post office. So all of the wines are named off the famous stamps. But he's got very, very, very intense reds, and his Chenin Blanc is off the charts. Wow. They're bush wine Chenin Blancs. Also look out for bush wine Chenin.
Okay.
the Shinnons that they're doing with bush wines, and obviously some Pinotage. There's some good Pinotages out there at the moment, but again, people tend to focus on your usual suspects there, like your Canoncorps and your Rakes. There's a lot of good stuff outside of that. But I would, if you see bush wine Shinnon or bush wine Charlie, Pinotage, I would look at it. There's some guys doing some really good stuff, small volume stuff. I don't know if it's getting out to Canada though.
Well, as I said, I'm going to list what the links are in Ontario, but depending on if we're getting listeners from elsewhere in Canada, I do know that usually the other provinces that get a lot of the big exports would be Quebec, Alberta, and BC. So I'm going to be heading actually out to Alberta this fall, so I'm going to take a quick peek and see what they have out there.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what it. Basically, I'm going to be traveling and just wine shopping. It's not a bad thing, right?
Oh no, I wish. I wish I had your job. I'm just a little bit spoiled. It really pees my friends off, and I've stopped posting stuff on Facebook when I'm on tour because they're sitting in an office or they sitting in a factory or whatever the case is, and they're really jealous. I understand it. So yeah.
Well, I know. I mean, it's one of the things that we've been lucky that we've been able to take one of our passions and turn it into careers, which is it's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. So that should give you a shopping list to start with. I've included in the show notes the top whites and reds that he's recommended based on availability currently with both the LCBO and the SAQ. So that should give you a few things to start with for the upcoming fall season. So obviously that sound means it's time for Fly in My Soup. So this is the time of the show where I get to vent about something. And although we're talking about wine, just from recent dining experiences, both here and outside of this city, I really wanted to address this common use by servers of the word guys, as in you guys, use guys, and however they wanted to use it in a sentence. I'm finding that it's so informal and it's so overused, and I don't know if they're just using it as a filler sometimes. But if there's any servers out there listening, can you please try to catch yourself using that phrase? There are so many other ways of addressing the people sitting at your table. You can say ladies and gentlemen or just ladies. I've always learned to be a little cheeky, and I think that having a group of men at a business luncheon and addressing them as gentlemen sounds a lot better than you guys. You can come up with different pronouns, adjectives, whatever, but you guys or use guys is a little overdone. So that's just my vent of the day. So it's time again for Sudbury's Secret Servers, speaking of service, and here are their thoughts on their wine training. Do you feel that you have enough training, basic training with the wines that you have, basic wine service, in comparison to what your guests are expecting?
Not necessarily. I mean, the knowledge that I do have, when we first started, we had our, at the time, executive chef of the whole chain come in and do a wine class with us. Very basic, very standard, and then we were fortunate enough to actually have you come in.
That was another shameless plug.
For you to come in, and you gave us basically a wine 101 you gave us the aromas to smell and went a little bit more in depth with it. So I mean, I am grateful for that knowledge that I got. Myself as a wine drinker, I don't really drink red. I drink more white. So I find at a table when a guest is like, give me a smooth, full body red with flavors of cherry, and I kind of find myself like, I don't know where to go from that point, because I don't know necessarily looking at the list, be like, this is the one you're looking for.
It's surprising, especially with a franchise. This will be just my little venting into all the franchise owners out there. Why don't you have tasting notes for your wines?
Yeah, that's true.
You can pull them off the LCBO if it's something it's actually listed. Doesn't take long. It's usually only a sentence or two. So just redo. Hey, take a note of the chained book at the back of the kitchen. Do the same thing at the bar and have yourself a standard. I don't care if it's laminated or whatever you need to do, but just have the general tasting notes for someone who doesn't drink wine.
So true.
And not to mention, there's some people who just don't drink, whether they like red or white. And for them to have to make that call, you can train them, but you shouldn't be required to memorize the wine list.
For us, we did a really good wine training, but I just find we don't do it enough, and enough for it. Like we would, and a refresher would be really great, because I find coming out of the wine training, I was really good with questions, and then sometimes you go on vacation, you come back, and I'm not a wine drinker, so some of the knowledge does fade out.
Or you don't serve that wine.
Or you don't, yeah.
Or they've changed the wine menu 3 times now.
Yeah, there's that too.
Since-
I do feel like I can, how do you say debrouiller in English? I can
Manage.
yeah, you can manage and
Fake it till you make it.
That's right. According to like what's most popular and what people are ordering, what they really like and whatnot, and I can do that. But other than that, I feel like a refresh would be really good on wine.
And I've been doing this for a little while, so I mean, I have more knowledge just from experience and dealing with so many different wine lists and different restaurants, and I've worked in a couple places that are more wine than other booze, so you get a lot more exposure to it in a place like that. But where I am now, I did just that, the tasting notes for all the wines, and we make a book out of it. But you know how many servers use it? 0. Their first thing is, hey, what's like this, or what can I do? This is what they said. My favorite thing with anything,
Go to the book.
Yeah. My favorite thing with any kind of when they're talking about beer or scotch or wine or any of those things that have flavor kind of connotations to it is, what do you drink at home?
What's your favorite?
And
go-to.
that helps you kind of steer them in the right direction from there.
Can I give y'all a suggestion?
Yeah.
I don't know if I mentioned this in that training thing before. If your restaurant offers tastings, I would suggest, even if they tell you, well, I normally like a Merlot from California, unless you happen to know them personally and they happen to be really good with their wines, what they may be thinking is a good Merlot from California may not be a classic Merlot from California. So what I would say is, based on the weight and the tasting notes, take 2 wines, say, I'm going to bring you a couple to try.
I always do that. Yeah.
Without even having to answer. And so even if then, say, I'm just going to give you a splash of each one, and you tell me which one you like the best.
Yeah.
Odds are they're not picking the Merlot, usually. However, but with their tasting notes, you'll be able to guess without actually having to, and letting them make that decision. I think just downloading that, as opposed to, because I don't know what the policies are in your restaurants, but if somebody ordered a glass of wine and they're like, oh, I don't like that. You told me that this was going to be like the other one that I have at home. Now, who's paying for that wine?
The restaurant.
Us, yeah, we got it removed off the bill.
Yeah.
I think you can kind of tell too, from the way that they're ordering, how particular they're going to be about that wine. And definitely the tasting, when you start to see that someone might be a little bit sensitive to what their choice is going to be, that's definitely brings sales.
Oh, it's a great way also to tame the wine snobs. Right? So if you have a big table and there's a guy at the head of the table and he's trying to impress his guests, trying to order the right bottle or trying to order wine for everybody, that kind of thing, to be able to bring over, so you could do the big show, choose the wine, like let him roll. Because he just wants the show and to be able to choose it and know that it's going to be good. So yeah, whenever you can give samples, that's usually
because the only thing that's unfortunate about that is we can only let them taste wines that are offered by the glass.
Yep.
So we won't open up a bottle to do a taster.
No, and that's the whole thing. You can suggest. If you're not quite sure, you're not sure in your wines, steer them towards a wine that's available by the glass that's also good by the bottle.
Right.
I've always tried to tell people that if you're not sure what wines to order, if the restaurant is already putting it on their by the glass menu, it means it's good.
Okay.
They were not going to put a gamble on their by the glass, right?
Right.
So, and the other thing is that if you decide, okay, well, I'm ordering a bottle and there's so many of us at the table, if someone decides I want to have another glass, you don't have to order another bottle.
Right.
Right? So if you can steer them towards that. I mean, if they insist and there's something specific they're looking for that you don't have on there, but I think to be a safe bet, and if you're not overly confident on your wine knowledge, to be able to sort of match their expertise, that's always like steer them towards the wine by the glass. 'Cause it can't be bad.
No, you're right.
And actually, what just happened probably about a couple months ago now, was when before that we had a wine list that was well tailored and done with a sommelier, and you wouldn't recognize most of the names because that's what you get when you work with a sommelier, and our sales were kind of luggish. But we switched over and we added some of the LCBO brands where you see the word yellowtail, and you could put whatever yellowtail you want on that list, and people are drinking it, whether they say they like a Merlot or they like a Cab or a Shiraz. Like, they see yellowtail
Brand
and they love it.
recognition works
Perfect.
every time.
So and now sales, like the wine sales, have by the bottle have increased a lot just because people see names that they know.
And it's so funny because I just came back from Australia.
Yeah.
And no knocking Yellowtail. Did not see it once when I was
No.
there. Didn't see it
That's
on the
usually how it
menu.
goes.
Didn't see it anywhere.
No.
Yeah, Yellowtail's not a thing down there.
The reason why we started the whole idea of the pig roast was to bring together people that were like-minded in terms of them appreciating our wine, appreciating our philosophy, appreciating the fact that it's not just about tasting wine, but it's about the whole experience of people coming here and being able to go away with a memorable and lasting experience. That's really what it's all about. The wine it's a great wine, but I mean, if it's just about wine, you can go to 150 other wineries.
Oh, I think you're selling your wine a little short.
But we essentially want to be able to differentiate ourselves from the marketplace by having a different kind of product, but also an experience that people will remember and they'll want to come back, because I think people of all kind of walks of life now are looking for, in some cases, a bit of an escape, a bit of an experience away from kind of their current stresses of life, daily lives. And we feel that we can help to provide some of that for people.
There was no one better to introduce this next section of the podcast other than the owner and such an amazing speaker, Len Crispino of the Foreign Affair Winery in Vineland, Ontario. I had the honor of being one of his guests at their annual pig roast just at the end of this past summer. And both Len and Marissa really welcomed us, allowed us, along with their whole team, to show us the behind the scenes. We got to see their brand new event space, which I was really excited to see. The food was great. Almost every guest we came in contact, you can really tell how much they love this winery, and they really love and respect not just the wines, but the people who work there. It was one of those evenings where you could probably wander around and hug everyone goodbye when you leave. I mean, that's just unusual for a public event. So a little bit about the Foreign Affair Winery. They created most of their wines starting with the Amarone style that they learned when they lived in Italy before they opened the winery here in Ontario. So Amarone style is using the Appassimento style. So if you're not familiar with it, basically it is the method of drying the grapes prior to pressing. So it really gets that really deep, dark fruit flavors that are known for the Amarone style wines. And they managed to take a lot of the really great grape varietals that do well here and using that style to produce something completely unique and different. They've won awards for it, and it's one of those things that they've managed to create this following. So between themselves and their friends and conspirators, as they call them, and their friends and family, word has just spread. And I know that I was very excited that I managed to get my seat at that pig roast this year, because it usually does sell out every single year. So they have some terrific wines, and this would be one of those places that I would say focus on the red wines. I mean, the rosé was lovely. We had it prior to the pig roast that day, and they do have a couple of whites that were really intriguing, but honestly, their reds are something else. I was pleasantly surprised to see that I got to taste, as part of the dinner that night, their big flagship. There was their 2008 Cab Franc, and I was very excited also to bring a bottle home with me. So it was the wine that I opened and enjoyed the night of this podcast launch with Jordan, my assistant and friend, who was there at the pig roast with me. It was also her favorite. And some of my other close friends, family, and my husband, so that we can all sort of toast each other to a great launch party and the beginning of something new. And I thought it was one of their beginning wines, and I was so honored to be a part of it that I wanted to bring back that same feeling and memory by having it launch my big day. So there was an amazing, motivational, inspirational toast that Len gave prior to the dinner, and we managed to get it on video. So as opposed to me uploading the entire speech here on this audio podcast, I have included the link to the YouTube video on these show notes. So as you are probably well aware now, the show notes can always be found at stephaniepichet.ca/flavor6 in this case. And of course, that's spelled the Canadian way, FLAVOUR 6. And you can really understand why the people just fell in love with their wines and this place. And you can tell how much of a heart both Len and Marissa have put into this place and this winery. And as always, I'm going to include a link to their website, and it's an easy place to order in wines for yourself to try at home. They do have a couple of great little package things that they can be sending you, like a club, sending you some wines on an ongoing basis. You can either let them pick them for you, or you can choose them yourself. Or even better yet, I would try to take some time to go down to the Niagara area if you haven't been there in a while, and make sure you stop into Foreign Affair and say hello to the team for me, if I haven't beat you there first. So one little side note, which I thought was stunning and interesting, about a week after that pig roast, we found out through the grapevine known as social media that Len and Marissa sold Foreign Affair Winery for a large sum of money. So there's obviously a very large wine company out there that has seen what they have done and basically wants to expand it as far as it possibly can go. So my big congratulations out to Len, Marissa, and the entire team at Foreign Affair. I know that everyone's staying on, but now they can just sort of sit back and enjoy this future that they have before them. So it's time, just before we close, for table topics. So this is the time of the episode where I randomly pull a conversation starter out of my table topics boxes. And since it's a wine-themed episode, it seemed fitting to choose one from the wine box. So here's today's question. Which wine characteristic do you enjoy most? Is it fruity, earthy, spicy, or herbal? Yes, this is the descriptors that many wine enthusiasts use to describe wines. So again, that's fruity, earthy, spicy, or herbal. Myself, I'm an earthy girl. I love Pinot Noirs. I love a dry, savory note in my reds. It is just something that is comforting to me, and I don't like anything too sweet. So a good red earthy wine is right up my alley, similar to that 2008 Cab Franc. So if you want to send along your thoughts on the wine characteristics or the wine styles that you like the most, you can always do so on our Facebook page. Just look for Flying for Flavor. You can either type your message in, send me a direct message, or even press that microphone button and send me an audio message instead. Or if you prefer to use email, you can always reach us at flavor@stephaniepichet.ca. So it's time for a quick close. And of course, I need to thank all of the contributors to this episode. First and foremost, of course, Cedric Jones from Luhambo Wine Tours in Capetown, South Africa. He is going to be joining us periodically throughout each season just to give us an update on what's happening down there. And I'm really hoping that maybe by season 2, I can actually tape directly down in Cape Town. That would be even a better plan for me anyways. And I wanted to thank the entire team at Foreign Affair Winery, Len, Marissa, Kelly, everyone who allowed us to sort of wander around on the property a little bit, take great photos, have some great conversations with a lot of their conspirators and other dining friends. It was a very memorable evening, and I know that Jordan and I have been talking about it just about every time we get together since we've been back. And of course, thanks to you for listening, and make sure you check up on that contest. Please rate us and review us on iTunes. If you're in Ontario and have a chance to win a fully catered 6-course dinner menu with wine pairings and other gifts and surprises from me, as well as if you're interested in coming to drink with me down the Bordeaux in France, all of the details are also on the show notes as well. So enjoy the rest of your wine, and we'll see you the next time on Flying for Flavor.